I'm here to disrupt everything the diet and food industry has told you for years. What if you could stop obsessing over food and weight, understand exactly what your body really needs to thrive, all while learning how to feel empowered, confident, and in control? Hey there, I'm Carrie, a certified nutritionist, award-winning educator, behavioral specialist, international speaker, and mom of two amazing college-age daughters. I'm here to help you disrupt everything the diet industry has told you about your health and your body. So here's the truth. Sure, what we put in our bodies matters, and it's more than just nutrition. As a nutritionist and a behavioral expert, I'm uniquely qualified to marry both the science of what our bodies need along with how to change your relationship with food, and all while realizing your value. I want to help teach you to reach your health, wellness, and yes, even weight loss goals with powerful conversations, science-backed strategies, and real talk. I'll teach you how to break free from the cycle of dieting, deprivation, and self-sabotage and start truly living. No more temporary fixes here, just sustainable wellness for you, your family, and your future that no one is talking about. You were not put on this earth to find the right diet, so it's time to stop living like you were. Join me each and every week as I share practical advice, a fresh perspective on the power of mindset, and tips that empower you to live your purpose, all while still enjoying the foods you love. And yeah, that even includes carbs. So if you want something different, you have to do something different. Consider me your something different. Welcome to the Diet Disruptors Podcast. Well, hey, Diet Disruptors, Carrie here, and welcome to another mini episode on the theme around time management. We are going to learn this year how to manage our time so time does not manage us. Because let's face it, you could have these big goals for the new year, but it doesn't matter if you're not able to execute them. And life will show up. Nothing magical happens at the start of a new year. Nothing magical happens on a Monday when you decide you're going to start all over again. It's what we do with the time that actually allows us to have success. And so often, I think we do this kind of like wishing, and the wishing we think is just going to turn into something different. Or we feel like if we're frustrated enough with our body or with our situation, then we'll make changes. Or we feel if we're motivated enough, then we're going to make changes. None of those are actual strategies that are going to work for the long term. But when we can actually take a hold of time instead of time taking a hold of us, because that's actually our number one issue. We might not realize it, but time just seems to go by so fast. And all of a sudden you look at it, it's like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months down the road. And you're like, how did I get here? I recently got a text from a client who said, oh my gosh, I am so frustrated with myself. I have fallen off and I need to get myself back on. Now, this is a client, and I love to be able to say, like, my clients don't fall off. We all fall off. Let's be really clear. It's just that we make the habit of getting back on. Well, when I dug in with her, I was like, all right, let's talk about what happened. And as is the case with everyone, she's like, I don't know. It just like life showed up and we get sucked in like it's a tornado, like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. You know, Wicked is having a moment right now. So let's go with that. We just get sucked up in that tornado and then we land and we're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And so much of that is because we have a lack of self-awareness around what we do, why we do it, and the intentionality around it. Well, that is very often because we are not taking a hold of time. Time takes a hold of us. You know, money does the same thing. Every single dollar has to have a job when it comes into your bank account. And when it doesn't, it just goes. It's way too easy to do one-click shopping. I know the TikTok shop gets me a lot. So we have to be aware that if we're not conscious of our money and intentional about our money, we're going to be like, well, I don't have any money. How did that happen? I have this conversation with my 19-year-old all the time. And if we do the same thing with time, then the same thing will happen. And the thing with the difference between money and time is that we can always make more money. We cannot make more time. I don't care if you are Elon Musk, one of the richest men in the world, right? If you are anybody that has tons of money, they still have exactly the same amount of time. So in our very first series on time management, I gave you a task to be able to look at the 168 hours that you and everybody else in this world, regardless of socioeconomic status, has. 168 hours. And I gave you a task to be able to go through and time audit yourself. If you do get 7 hours of sleep a night, that's 49 hours. You still have a chunk of time left. If you take 168 minus 49 and then subtract 40 hours for work, I don't even care if you subtract 50 hours for work, you still have a ton more time than you realize. We just aren't intentional about it. So if you haven't done your 168-hour activity, I would suggest going back and doing that. You can listen to this whole podcast, but go back and do that, because this next step is going to be sort of your next session with yourself on your journey for taking a hold of time. And now this strategy I teach to all of my clients, but I cannot take ownership to this. Michael Hyatt, who is a productivity coach for executives, he does this with his clients. And I have taken this and adapted it to be able to work with my own clients. So this is called the ideal week. And the ideal week isn't like something where it's like, oh, ideally I'm on a beach in Tahiti, right? Like, no, it is ideally if I had a week going like a typical week, where am I going to fit all the things in I know I need to do? A lot of people think I don't have time to exercise, but if you do your time audit, you realize if you just dedicated, even if you're doing zero right now, and if you dedicated 10 minutes a day, 3 times a week. That is way more than you've been doing. And if you think about time and how incredible it is and how it adds up, 10 minutes a day, 3 days a week is 30 minutes a week. That is 2 hours a month. 2 hours a month times 12 months, that's 48 hours in a year. That's like a full-time job plus overtime. You can absolutely, no, I did that wrong. That's 24 hours. Sorry. 24 hours in 2 hours a week, right? I was doing it if you worked out an hour a week. Okay. So that's just 10 minutes a day. That's 2 hours a month, which is 24 hours a year. That is more than a part-time job of exercising. And if you have gone through the last year not exercising consistently at all, and you get 24 hours in, that's incredible. But what we know about human psychology and behavior is that once you start doing something a little bit, you're going to start up leveling automatically. It's going to start to become habit and second nature, and you're going to start to want to do more. And even if you upped it by another 10 minutes, now you are at 48 hours a year just by doing another 10 minutes of that. So the time adds up. And if you look at your 168 hours and you took 0.5 hours a week to exercise, there are no excuses. Now, I do about anywhere between 5 to 8 hours a week, which might sound like a lot, but in a scheme of 168 hours, it's a very, 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 very small percentage of your time, right? Grocery shopping for me, because I honor time more than anything else, I Instacart everything. So I get my Costco order and my local grocery order done in about 15 minutes on Sundays. Huge time saver. I mean, that saves me at least 2 to 3 hours a week. And if it's Costco on a weekend, forget about it, right? It also saves me a lot of mental health issues. So now we are going to tap into our 168 hours that you've mapped out, that you've brain dumped, and we're going to plot it into your ideal week. So if you can do this on any sort of like a planner that has all of your hours on one side and then has your 7 days a week, just like a blank planner. You can go to my website of my private practice, disruptivenutrition.com, and I have a planner pad system that I use with my clients that I have there that you could go grab. But you can do this on any type of a planner or a calendar that's got hours on the left side and like the days of the week on the top. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to plot in an ideal week when you're going to do all these things. So for example, in my ideal week at 7 a.m. every day is my workout time. So 7 a.m. gets plotted out on my ideal week. I start my morning time at 5:30. I get up between 5:30 and 5:45. So I really start my morning time by 6 at the very latest. But in my time blocking, in my ideal week, it's 5:30 until 7. And I do that 7 days a week. Now, if you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure you do, Carrie_Lapoli, because every single morning at 6:45 Eastern time, I go live and do morning time with you so that you can get into that practice. And we do a daily declaration every day. So get that into your ideal week. Now, when are you showering and when are you walking the dogs? When are you going to work? And as you go through your 168-hour brain dump and plot in the things that you're going to do each day of the week, you will be able to see such a dramatic opportunity that you have to be able to get all the things in that you need to do. And you don't get to say anymore, I don't have time. Now it's going to be a matter of executing this. But you absolutely will see that you have the time. Now, if in your brain dump, where you did your 168 hours, you said, oh gosh, like I'm at like 175 hours. Well, that's not possible. You can't be. You don't get more time. So you're going to have to take time away from some of the other things. And a lot of times we take things away from sleep, from exercise, and those are the most important things. We are not robots. We cannot fill every single minute of every single day. And if you are beyond the 168 hours, then you have to scale back some of the things that just don't matter. We're going to tap a little bit more into prioritizing in a future episode, but I want you to really think about getting rid of the racket in your head, the excuse in your head, the truthiness that tells you, I have to do all these things. I'll just not sleep. Not true. You will not be able to do all the things if you don't get the sleep that you need. It is like saying, oh, I can just run my phone for 48 hours straight and never charge it. It'll be fine. It won't be fine. It won't work. Same with you. So we can't take away the things that we know are the big rocks that have to be there. So get your ideal week going and you're going to be able to see. Now, on a Monday, it might look a little different on a Thursday. And you're going to plot out the activities that you've mapped out in your 168-hour brain dump in your ideal week. For those people that might be nurses or firefighters that have like 3 days on and 2 days off, maybe instead of a Monday through Sunday ideal week, you're going to do a rotational, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're like 3 days on, 2 days off, you're going to do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ideal week and know that a day one might be a Monday or it could be a Sunday, right? But if it's a day one, this is going to be your ideal week. Now, the reason I do morning time and morning time is so important is because every single day I get to look at what I intended to do the day before and what did I do? What do I need to carry over to the next day? And how do I have to adjust my timing for my ideal week? The ideal week is like a blueprint. And I just recently built a house, and I know that the blueprint does not look exactly the same as the house itself. We had to make some adjustments along the way. So I want you to think about your ideal week as a blueprint, but you are intentional and on top of it all the time. You're not in that tornado where you're like, I don't know what happened. You know what happened because every single morning you're revisiting your ideal week with what you actually have in front of you. And you're going to be able to see, how can I line this up as closely as possible? And if you just keep seeing that I am not lining up my ideal week with what actual reality is, then your ideal week is not actually ideal. It's not real. It's not realistic, and you're going to have to go through and adjust. And this cycle of looking at your 168 days and redoing your ideal week is something my clients and I do on a regular basis. Every time there's a new season in my life, I redo my ideal week. When I was actually traveling a ton last year, I had to do a new ideal week every other week because that's how chaotic my life was. But as long as I was intentional and I was aware of what was happening, I was able to control it. I still got a ton of stuff done. I gave myself a lot more grace. Maybe I don't show up in the gym in the same frequency as I did before, but I adjusted my ideal week, and regardless, it was intentional versus me just sort of being like, I don't know what happened. So this is your next step. You'll go through, look at that brain dump again for your 168 hours. And now get yourself your ideal week, your blueprint mapped out of what a typical week should look like for you. And then from there, we're going to start executing.